Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Back to Basics, Mastering Posting Setups in Dynamics GP. Today we're going to kind of do a run through of just the different posting setups to kind of make your life a little bit easier if you have those set up, kind of looking back at some basics, kind of some reminders, some tips and tricks. If you're new to GP, where to find these posting setups. If you have been with GP for years, kind of a little bit of a reminder of where we should go to maybe double check those. Are they correct? Are they coming over, how you expect them to? So kind of a little bit for everybody here today. So again, like I said, today's agenda, we're going to look at that posting setup window, how to get the right reports to print, how to make sure everything is flowing how you are expecting it to. We're going to review the account maintenance window. So basically setting up a new GL account in the different areas that you want to kind of pay close attention to. Your posting accounts and the payroll posting accounts. I did separate those out a little bit with an and because they are two different areas. We'll take a peek at those today. We'll look at the setup for vendor, customer, item, and asset. It's kind of all in that same area. So we'll probably just pull up a vendor or a customer, kind of take a look at that, how you can set it up specific for that vendor. And then take a peek at where those source documents and those audit trail codes are coming from. My name is Jess Moan. I will be your presenter today with the looking at these posting setups. So the first one we're going to look at today is the posting setup window. So I'm one of those that I like to kind of get into GP and pull these windows up so that you are able to see them, where they are, and kind of the different functions of each. So we are going to pull up our GP here. And so to find these windows, we're going to go to Tools and to your Setup, Posting, and this one we're going to go with the posting. So we're going to look at all of these setups here under the posting. So we'll go to the posting one first. And the first thing you're going to want to do is look at which series you want to look at. So you're able to pick basically the module that you're going to be working in or want to set up. So let's go ahead and let's go with purchasing today. The origin, you are able to pick all. We can do just computer checks. And that would specify just for those computer checks specifically, right? So if we wanted to look at that one, we are now getting some options. And so when we go to post a computer check, do we want that check to post to the general ledger? So do we want that GL to pass through, post in your module of purchasing, right, and hit the GL account? So this post to general ledger, it's going to post a transaction or a batch. It's going to create a batch for you in the financial module. It'll create that batch and leave it out there for someone, either you or maybe someone else, to go through and actually post it into the financial module, into the general ledger, right? If you select this post through general ledger files, that is going to create that batch for you or that transaction, right? And it's going to just continue on. It's not going to stop with that batch build. It's going to go ahead and just post the whole thing for you. So it's going to create that general ledger posting and it's going to post it. So no one would have to come back in there and create that or post it. Do you allow transaction posting? So transaction posting is going to be your I like to call it on the fly transaction. So I'm going to create a transaction. I'm not going to put it in a batch. I am just going to create it and post. Do you allow that in your company? Some companies don't. Some companies require all transactions to be in a batch, and that is completely okay based off of maybe workflow, reviewing, approvals, all of that. So you can turn that off or turn it on. Your computer checks is a little bit different. If we were under a payables transaction entry, when we're posting that on the fly, is it creating that general ledger file? So are we posting through here? Regardless, it's going to post that general ledger, right? Is it going to post through? You can have it just post that batch, create that batch for you in the financial series, and then someone would come and post it based off of just having the transactional posting on. And you could have this on so that when they post a batch, that it goes all the way through. So kind of some different settings that you can push through here. Do you include multi-currency information as you're posting? So that would, if you're using multi-currency, you are probably going to want that on if you need that info. Verifying number of transactions and verifying batch amounts. So these two items are going to be if you are in a creating a new batch, or even we can look at an old batch. Do you require this to be filled out? So if I am looking at this, do I require that this has a 1 here and this is $100 here? Maybe I just want to require how many transactions I'm entering. If I had 5 here, it would not let me post this if I have that I need that batch control number there for the number of transactions. So that's kind of handy if you want them to be making sure that the number of transactions matches up with what they actually have or entered into the system. So you can do that for just the number of transactions, maybe the total amount, however you want to look at that. Creating a journal entry. Are you creating this journal entry per transaction, or are you creating it creating one batch of all the transactions? So you can go ahead and select that. The one thing I am going to tell you or show you is when you're under payroll, you're going to get a second option to be able to post in detail. So you can post it all in lump sum summary, so you don't have each employee's information coming through to the general ledger. You can pull that information then maybe out through payroll, or maybe you want that all split out individually for reporting purposes. So you can select to post in detail or in summary for payroll there. Your posting date from, do you post from the batch date here when you're creating a batch, or are you posting to the GL and posting that transaction to the month of the transaction? The one thing I would say is if you're doing transactional level, the posting from transaction for posting the date, be very careful that, you know, it's March and I get a payable for February and I'm entering that invoice date into my transaction, that I am not using that February date because my February is now closed. I do not want to enter back into that date. So just be careful there. If you're using that transaction, otherwise you can use that batch and use any transaction date. So if I got that February invoice, I'm putting February on that transaction because I know it's gonna post in March or April or whatever month I'm using for that posting date. If the batch exists, what do we want to do? Do we want to create a new batch for it? Do we want to append to that batch? Typically we see the create new, but it is up to you how you want to handle that. Do these transactions require a batch approval? So what that is stating is basically, in order to post the batch, do I need an approval password? And then anybody with that approval password would be able to approve the batch, and then that batch can be posted. So right now I currently have it turned on so you can see it. Here's my batch. I would have to come in here, review it most likely, you know, go to my print and print my reports. And then I would come down here and I would say I'm approving it. It's going to ask me to enter a password. If I don't approve it and I try to go ahead and post it, it's going to tell me that I can't. So we can go to there. We would enter in our password that we have there, hit OK. And now when I go ahead and I would hit post, it is going to post this. It's just a test one. I'm not going to actually post it. I don't know what accounts I'm hitting. So we'll just go ahead and you can see that once that is there, you'd hit post, it would post for you. So while you're in here as well, here's where you're going to decide which reports you want to print. Maybe you're not using all of these reports. Maybe you don't want this payment distribution summary. We just want the detail, the journal entry, and the check posting, right? We don't need this summary one. So you can come here and uncheck that, and that is gonna make it so that that specific report is no longer going to print. It's not going to ask you if you want to print it. It's not going to print it for you. You would have to come back in here and mark that in order to get that report again. This send to section here of the 4 boxes, do you want it to ask every time? Do you want it to ask and default to go to the screen? Maybe you just want it to go to the screen. You don't want it to ask at all. You can pick, any combination. We could have all of these. And so this is going to ask us, it's going to send it to the screen, it's going to print it to our printer, and it's going to save it to a file. Because we're saving to a file, we would have to select which type of file we want to save to. And are we appending or are we replacing the file if it exists? And then on the second line here, we can go ahead and click there in it and click the folder. And here's where you're going to pick the destination and the file name, create that file name for it. Okay. So now looking at our account maintenance. So the one thing, we're going to go back into our GP and look at this window as well, but there is a reference on that account setup, those reports. Do you use the account setting or are you using the posting setup window for the type of transaction being posted? And what that means there is this level of posting series. If you're using the account setting, it's going to decide right here in, maybe purchasing this account. Maybe it's set up to do detail, or summary, but this account I want in detail. So that would pull this account specifically to post it in detail. And then as you're setting these up, most of you are probably familiar with the setting up a jail account. Go to our account, we would create our account here. We'll just go ahead and use one that we already have, an expense account out here. We would pick the account number, the description. Do you allow account entries? So do you allow to do journal entries? Typically, this is a big one that we would unmark if it is a cash account. We don't want you to process a general transaction outside of actually using the modules to create a check or to use that cash account, right? Your category, there are several different categories you can decide to use. Is it an expense? Is it, right now it's an administrative expense? So you can set those up to find a category. It is a required field. Typically this would be used if you are using any type of reporting inside of GP. It just helps it decide what category or where it is going in those reports. Your posting type, your expenses, we want to make sure that all your expenses are in that profit and loss, your revenue. If it's a balance sheet, is this a liability account? Is it an asset account? We want to make sure that is posted as a balance sheet account, just so that when we're running year end, we know which accounts are being cleared out, which accounts need to stay. So just kind of making sure that posting type is set up. That's really important come year end. Type of balance. So this is basically just going to help with a default. You know, this is a expense. So we are expecting it to be a debit balance. If I had this as a credit, as I'm going through and entering that that account code in, it's going to default it over to that credit portion to enter something in opposed to debit. So if you're noticing that you have an account and it's constantly going to the credit window instead of the debit, and it's an expense or should be have a debit balance, the reason is because this isn't set up correctly. You'd want to come in here and make sure that this typical balance is at your debit or credit, whichever one it should kind of default to. Again, you can do level of posting for series, so you have the choice between this account being posted in detail or in summary. You then also have 4 different areas that you can customize. These are user-defined fields, and so you are able to create these user-defined fields at whatever you want. So I just have, you know, maybe we decided to do a whole new chart of accounts, but I want to make sure that I have that old numbering system, that this account used to go to this account. Whatever you need to look at. Maybe you want your employees to sign off on it, that I created this, you know, so I would go ahead and put my name in here and the date I created this account, or maybe the date I edited the account, just kind of as a tracking purpose. But you can use these however you want. All right. Posting accounts. So your posting accounts are going to be your default posting accounts. These can be very handy for setup. If you're doing a write-off, it'll know where that write-off is going. Maybe it's a rounding write-off. It knows to just write it off to this 7,300 account, right? You can pick by your modules in there. You can see that payroll isn't part of this. As I was saying, those posting setups, account setups are a little bit different, and we will walk through that as well. So as you are coming out into these windows here, again, we're back into the Microsoft Dynamics GP, our tools, setup, posting, and now we're looking at our posting accounts. So we can look at every posting account set up for all modules, or we can say, hey, you know what, I just want to look at sales right now. So I have my, you know, accounts receivable, my cash account. If it's a credit memo, where is that typically defaulted to? You know, NSF charges, my inventory account. What is my default inventory account? And just because these defaults are set up does not mean that's where they have to go. So keep that in mind, but here is where you would go ahead, set all those up. The more data you have in here, the better off you are, just because it's going to default that if you forget to, when you're in a transaction, to look at those distributions, it is going to at least have that default of where it should belong at, right? So here is where you would come in here. You have your financial. You can update those for those posting accounts. We have, you know, your purchasing, the different purchasing accounts. Like I don't have my prepayment file filled out. Maybe I don't allow prepayment, but you can go ahead and enter that information in here as you use it, right? If you don't use it, you wouldn't need it set up, or maybe you don't have an account for it. So that can help with just defaulting those accounts in. Okay. And again, the payroll posting accounts, you will find that in that tool, setup posting payroll accounts. It is a little bit different, as it is going to give you that payroll account type and give you the drop down. So it is going to give you, you know, your wages. It's going to give you your federal tax withholding credit, you know, your debit side. For the employer side, it's going to give you your benefit accounts, your, you know, both debit and credit on those benefit accounts. It's your deductions, your unemployment, all of those different levels, you're going to be able to come in here and you are going to be able to set those up. Now this posting setup can be a little confusing at times. If you do have it set up at any point with a department position and code, you would want to continue that. For that, you'd want to keep that going, because what's going to happen is it's going to read this basically, if there's a department, if that transaction for that employee falls into that department, it's going to say, okay, it's in this department, right? And then it's going to go to the position field and it's going to say, oh, here's, I don't have a specific position, so it's going to pick that all and then go. Now, if it didn't have that all and you had specific position here and it didn't fall into it, it wouldn't know where to put it and then gets confused. And it might just say, okay, it's going to go into a suspense account, or we're not going to post it. So just make sure if you are putting it in more detail that you're continuing that detail. This is something that, if you need assistance with, we are more than happy to help you get this started. It can be very overwhelming at times, as the more departments and positions you have, the more in-depth it can get. So if you do have any questions with that, definitely reach out to us. I do suggest always having an all account setting. We can take a look here. Oops. So again, under your tools, setup, posting, and that is your payroll accounts here at the bottom. So we got our gross wages. So here we have, you can see that I am drilling them out based on a department, a position, and even, a code, kind of splitting those out further. You have all your different types of payroll accounts, right? Your benefits, maybe all my benefits go to one account, that I'm not splitting them all out. Same thing. If the credit side for that liability account is different, you would create this continuous of each account, position, and the code. So going back to our gross pay, I have an all here, and I just have it defaulting to my typical salary wages, right? If you had several and you don't have a default, you have several different accounts that these salaries and wages can go into based off of a department, position, coding of some sort, you're going to want to make maybe a suspense account where this all is hitting a 9999 account. That way, if it doesn't fall into any of those categories, any of those strings, it's going to hit that 9999 account. And when you're reviewing, you're going to see that and think, say, oh yeah, I created a new pay code, I need to go out and do that mapping. I created a new department, I need to go out and do that mapping, right? So just something to kind of keep in mind. Typically, all of these different accounts, you're going to want that all, so that it doesn't get stuck posting because you don't have an account for it to go to, and then it's unbalanced. Your transaction is unbalanced when you go to post your journal entry there for it. All right, we are going to look at vendor, just kind of for simplicity. They're all kind of set up the same. You go out to, either purchasing, sales, items, your inventory, your assets. You'd go to that cards, purchasing, vendor, and then accounts. So as we are out there, we can set up basically we had those default codes set up, right? And you can default it based on that specific vendor. So I think our tax code was actually set to an Illinois state tax. Here for this vendor, it looks like they might be in Australia. So we're using an Australian sales tax expense. We wouldn't want that to go to Illinois, right? So you can default it based off of the vendors being vendor specific by going in here and updating these. You will also see under this purchases, there are three little dots here. And if you click on that, it's actually choosing several different accounts here as this default. It's going to default this account in, but it's giving you other options. So when you're in a transaction, you can look at those account numbers that are assigned to this specific vendor or to the specific customer and be able to choose out of those expense accounts. But you can also see the full list. So it's not going to restrict you to just seeing maybe the 3 that are attached to here. You are able to select it where you would see the rest of them in case you needed to use a different account number there. So you would go ahead and for each vendor or customer at the bottom of their maintenance page, there is that accounts button. You would click on that and this will pop up. If you do have your, we'll go into the customer card here. If you do use your class IDs, you also can default those accounts in as well, making it simpler. Maybe you have, because I'm looking at that Australian tax, sales tax. Maybe I have a class ID for Australian companies, and so that would just pull in, that Australian tax account code opposed to my Illinois code. When working on setting that up, you would just go in here and look at, so we have an Australian, you can pull in those accounts and see that it's pulling that Australian sales tax. And so when I assign that class to that vendor, it is going to default all of these accounts in. You still could go into that vendor, into that accounts, and change or update any one of these accounts here so that you are able to see those. So here's those 3 little dots where you could continue to add and then default on transaction of which account you want it to default to on the transaction levels. Okay. Your source documents, I know we're kind of running short on time here, so we'll quickly kind of go through this. You can look at your source documents. These are used to track the type of journal entry being posted, which can be handy. It'll pull in from your submodules, from the audit trail code attachment. You'll map that up. And you can create an unlimited amount of these source documents. So you can come in here and create a new source document and the description here and have several different codes here for this. We'll take a peek at that here shortly. And so that's going to tie out to this audit trail codes, where you'll have these different audit trail codes. You'll be able to pick, again, which module you're working with or all of them, for all your journal entries here. We have different prefixes, but then we have, our source codes are different. So that's where those source codes are going to come into play. So as we are out here under your tool setup and posting, we have our source documents. Here's where you're just going to create them. Like I said, you can have an unlimited amount. You do get your basic ones. I mean, they're already preloaded, so you don't need to add any new ones if you don't want to, unless you want them specific for something. And we then have our audit trail codes, and then here's where you would be able to change those source documents as to how you want those to pull over. You would be able to come in here and select which one you wanted that to assign to on that source document. Okay, so just a quick recap. We reviewed those posting setup window. We reviewed the account maintenance window and how to make some data defaults, how to make sure that that's set up correctly. We went over the posting account setup for all the modules, including payroll. I know sometimes payroll gets missed a little bit. We reviewed the defaults and the postings for the vendors, which that default is very similar if not almost the same for customers, and pretty similar for that items and assets, a little bit different. And if you want to go into that a little more specific, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can definitely walk through that. We reviewed the source documents in the setup window and where those audit trail codes are being created, or how those audit trail codes are being created in that window, and how you can change them. Julia, do we have any questions at the moment?
Don't have any questions right now.
Okay. And if you do have any questions, definitely throw them in the chat. We can get those answered here. If you have questions and you don't want to throw them in the chat, definitely reach out, send us an email. We can help you with any of those questions, even if it doesn't come through, if it's not for this specific for the posting setups. Maybe you have other questions on different modules. Feel free to contact us at that support@iscorp.biz. If you're looking for our sales department, we have our sales@iscorp.biz. We will be able to get you to the correct person to help you with this. We do have some great upcoming webinars and events happening. March 13th, we're performing a check run in Business Central. March 18th, if you need help cleaning up POs, we have a WS tool for you. And then March 25th, tips and tricks for building a computer check run more efficiently in our payables management. So if you're looking for help in any of those areas, definitely make sure you're going out and registering for our webinars. And again, I just want to thank you for attending today. And if you, again, have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.